In this episode, we go deep into TCP and IP, the two protocols that work together to move data reliably across thousands of routers. You will see exactly how packets are created, addressed, routed, confirmed, and reassembled on the other end. Instead of sending one massive file across the network, the operating system breaks it into small chunks called packets. Each packet travels independently and can take a different path. This keeps any single large transfer from monopolizing a shared link, and it means a lost chunk can be resent without retransmitting the whole file. Every packet carries an IP header containing a source address and a destination address. Think of them like the return address and mailing address on an envelope. The destination IP is a 32-bit number written in 4 dotted groups. Any router that sees this packet reads that address to decide where to send it next. A packet rarely takes a direct path. It hops through a series of routers, each of which reads the destination IP, consults its routing table, and forwards the packet toward the best next hop. A typical request might cross 10 to 20 routers. Each hop adds a small delay, which is why geographic distance affects latency. Before any data hits the wire, each layer wraps the payload from the layer above with its own header. Application data gets a TCP header added, forming a segment. That segment gets an IP header, forming a packet. That packet gets a link layer frame header for the local network. Each layer only looks at its own header, ignoring what is inside. The internet model has 4 layers. The application layer is where your browser or email client lives. The transport layer manages end-to-end delivery using TCP or UDP. The internet layer handles logical addressing and routing with IP. The link layer deals with physically moving bits on a single cable or wireless hop between two adjacent devices. TCP and UDP both live at the transport layer, but make very different promises. TCP guarantees that every byte arrives in order and retransmits anything lost, which is perfect for web pages and file downloads. UDP skips all that overhead, making it ideal for video calls, gaming, and DNS lookups where speed matters more than perfection. Before TCP sends a single byte of application data, it performs a three-way handshake. The client sends a SYN packet to signal it wants a connection. The server replies with SYN ACK, acknowledging the client and announcing its own starting sequence number. The client sends a final ACK and the connection is open. This round trip typically costs 20 to 100 milliseconds. Every byte in a TCP stream is numbered using a sequence number. The sender labels each packet with the sequence number of its first byte. Even if packets arrive out of order because they took different network paths, the receiver uses these numbers to sort them back into the correct sequence before handing data up to the application. After receiving data, the receiver sends an acknowledgment back to the sender containing the sequence number of the next byte it expects. This is a cumulative ATA. If the sender receives an ACK for sequence 2000, it knows every byte up to 1999 arrived safely. The sender can then remove those bytes from its retransmission buffer. Packets can arrive out of order because routers forward them independently. The receiver holds out-of-order packets in a buffer and waits for the missing sequence numbers to fill in. Once a contiguous block is complete, TCP passes those bytes in the correct original order up to the application. From the app's point of view, data always arrives in sequence. When a sender transmits a packet, it starts a retransmission timer. If an ACK does not arrive before the timer expires, TCP assumes the packet was lost and resends it. Modern TCP also listens for 3 duplicate ACKs, which signal a loss even before the timer fires, triggering a faster retransmission called fast retransmit. Flow control prevents the sender from overwhelming a slow receiver. The receiver advertises its available buffer space in every ACK packet as the received window. The sender is not allowed to have more unacknowledged data in flight than the window size. As the application reads data, the window opens and the sender can transmit more. Congestion control protects the network itself. TCP starts cautiously with a small congestion window and doubles it every round trip during slow start. When it hits a threshold, growth slows to linear probing. If a loss is detected, TCP treats this as a congestion signal and sharply reduces the window before growing again more carefully. An IP address identifies a machine, but a port number identifies which program on that machine should receive the data. The TCP or UDP header carries a source port and a destination port. A socket is the combination of IP address and port. Well-known ports like 443 for HTTPS and 25 for mail let clients always know where to connect. Home networks use private IP addresses that are not routable on the public internet. Your router performs network address translation, replacing the private source address with its single public IP and tracking the mapping in a table. When a reply arrives, the router rewrites the destination back to the correct private device and port. Every link has a maximum transmission unit, the largest frame it can carry. Ethernet's MTU is typically 1500 bytes. If an IP packet is larger than the outgoing link's MTU, the router fragments it into smaller pieces, each with its own IP header. The destination host reassembles the fragments before handing data to TCP. Fragmentation adds overhead and modern systems try to avoid it. Closing a TCP connection takes 4 steps because each side closes independently. The client sends a FIN when it has no more data to send. The server acknowledges it but may continue sending its own data. When the server is also finished, it sends its own FIN. The client acknowledges that FIN, and after a short wait, the connection is fully released. Now that you understand how TCP reliably delivers packets, the next episode tackles what happens when you need those packets to be private and tamper-proof. You will see how TLS wraps the TCP connection and how a handshake negotiates encryption keys before a single byte of secret data is sent.